Inside New Orleans Sports with Eric Asher is underwritten by...
At Villere's Florist, we deliver the magic of flowers 7 days a week to the North Shore and South Shore in the New Orleans area. Whether it's for birthday parties, baby celebrations, Villere's provides colorful floral displays for all. With a store full of fresh-cut flowers, exotic tropical flowers, orchids, roses, and even fruit baskets, our goal is to make your vision a reality. Villere's Florist, proudly serving Louisiana since 1969. Mr. Ed's Oyster Bar and Fish House has been shucking here since 1979. Located at 3117 21st Street in Metairie, Mr. Ed's Oyster Bar and Fish House offers raw, fried, and grilled oysters, as well as a range of Cajun and Creole dishes. Enjoy a dozen with a smile.
Good evening, New Orleans, and welcome to Inside New Orleans Sports. I'm your host, Eric Asher. Over the next hour, we cover a lot going on with the home teams. And boy, there's a lot going on. No, there's really not. But there is the NBA draft tonight. And, of course, we'll talk a little high school. We'll talk a little Saints. We'll talk a little LSU as well. We'll get into all that. Got a great guest tonight. Garland, Gillen of Fox 8 Sports and Gus Kattengell of ESPN 100 here in New Orleans. Guys, welcome to the show. As always, thanks for coming down. Like to start off telling the folks a little bit about what you're involved in. Gus, you got a lot of things that you got your hands in. Tell us about it.
Yeah, getting ready for another, hopefully it will be an exciting season for Tulane football, being part of the broadcast crew there, women's basketball play-by-play. I know they have a lot of excitement on the men's basketball team, especially with the draft, seeing if one of their own will go in and get a name called even in the second round. And more importantly, obviously, it's crazy. You're looking at, I was just looking at the different Wednesdays that are coming up, or Thursdays, different topics. You only have 4, and then all of a sudden, guys, we're at Saints training camp. So it is right around the corner. The last week of June's next week, and then count 4 Thursdays, and Garland will be out there sweating, watching training camp. And there's so many storylines, and not only for Saints football this year at high expectation levels, but we're getting, we'll talk about LSU, how that maybe transcends too, but even uptown New Orleans. And before the show started, Garland and I were talking about the high school football that's going to be coming this fall, folks. Is pretty amazing. Well,
this 2019 class is supposed to be, outstanding. Garland's been all over it with Fox 8, and Garland, welcome to the show. Tell us about what you guys have going over at Fox 8, because great programming, obviously, is going on as football season comes along, but you guys are putting some great features out right now as well.
Yeah, with the Saints in downtime right now and LSU quiet right now also in Tulane Uptown, we've been doing a ton of profiles on the top talent in the southeast of Louisiana. I went to Amite, went to Warren Easton, went to Edna Carr, went to Hahnville, went to Rummel, and we've just been churning them out every night just so our local area gets to know who these kids are, and they're all 5- and 4-star players, some 3-stars too. So it's been fun this week, but training camp, as we said, they let the schedule out today. We know that training camp starts July 26th. The actual first day of practice is going to be July 26th, a Thursday. But this fall, we talked about it a moment ago, Eric, right before we went on the air. We're going to have 3.5 hours of programming per week on Fox 8 come football season. On Monday night, a black and gold breakdown at 10:35. Tuesday night, we have a new show now. It's called Fox 8 Overtime, which the 4 of us, Sean Fazan, Chris Hagan, Wonka Cade, and I, we're going to break down the big topic with the Saints, LSU, Tulane, and some prep football at 10:35 on Tuesday night, Fox 8 Overtime. We're moving game plan to Wednesday. It's usually Thursday night. We have game plan on Wednesday. Thursday night, a lot of weeks of the regular season. We're going to have Thursday night football. It's going to be either 14 or 15 weeks. Friday night, Fox 8 football. Friday, we cover prep at 10:35. Tailgate, get you ready for the game at 10 a.m. on Sunday morning. And then we finish it all up 10:30 on Sunday night with final play. So a ton of programming this fall. If you love football, there's one place to be this fall. It's going to be Fox 8.
And you wonder why this guy's on vacation right now.
Yeah, I'm taking it now because we're going to be, once the week of training camp starts, it's all in. though I will say this, SEC Media Days are the week before that.
Right.
So I have to come back for that week because Chris Hagan's going to go to Atlanta. They're moving into Atlanta this year, which I think is really cool. Yeah. It's going to be the College Football Hall of Fame, SEC Media Days. Right. It's been in Hoover forever. They're moving to the College Football Hall of Fame. I'm a little jealous because I've never been there, and it looks really cool.
Yeah, sounds good. Let's get it started, guys. Recruiting, that's the big story for LSU right now. Derek Stingley Jr., grandson of Darryl Stingley, who we all know was paralyzed, Jack Tatum, Oakland Raiders back in the 70s. He is at least verbally committed to be an LSU Tiger. #1 recruit in the nation, unusual for a cornerback, and he's said to be solid LSU. I know you talked about it this week. Yeah. Your thoughts?
I'll say this. I know Garland is going out and doing the prep stuff. You had to be impressed with the way he announced. I love it, right?
Yeah.
This video, put it together and everything. And it was crazy because some people that I talked to are like, oh, it's all about it. I'm like, I loved it. I love what he tweeted. He said, I'm going to do it tomorrow, right? It's in June. It's not in the fall. See, and he said it in the tweet. No hats, no press conferences. Respect my decision. This is how it is. And he put out 2 videos. And the first one that really stood out to me, look, Garland probably follows it a lot more than I do. And it's so hard with all these different players. But they do a great job doing that. But look, you know who this guy was and what he was doing. But still, he gives you a 5-minute video of who he is. You hear from his coach, you hear from his father, his football background, what he's good at and doing, and what kind of kid he is. And I'm like, wow, this is crazy. You know, and I'm starting to see who he is. And then in the announcement video, was that not a Nike or Gatorade spot at the very beginning where he's talking about looking at the receiver, I'm sizing him up, I'm looking at his hips. I'm sitting there, I'm like, this kid's 16, you know? I mean, his birthday was the day he announced to turn 17. But he understood the game, and all of a sudden he's like, once a Tiger, always a Tiger. You hear the music, I'm like, great, because guys, the only thing I take away with that, forget the 5-star, he can talk about that. Forget what he can bring on the field, we all can talk about that. That program needed a boost as bad as I can think. Yeah. It wasn't just me. I had that feeling, though, that there was so much negativity surrounding LSU. And, you know, they're going and finding a quarterback in May that doesn't not even practice with this team yet they're putting hopes on. You just got this feeling of, what is O doing? The ship is sinking. 6 new SEC coaches. You look at the West, more people feel the other teams with new coaches are going to be better. And then just that one commit, guys. Right? Don't you get the sense and feeling, Garland, that it feels different all of a sudden?
Well, the Joe Burrow transfer was the big coup for LSU this summer. But now you get Stingley. This is one of the greatest crops of LSU or Louisiana talent we've had in a long time. The #2 running back in America is at Deschamps right now, John Emery Jr. One of the top receivers in America, Devontae Lee, is at A-Meet. Ishmael Sopsher, his teammate in A-Meet, is the #1 defensive tackle in America. He's leaning toward LSU because Ed Ogeron, defensive lineman. That Trey Palmer, 10 miles away in Kentwood, right next to them. He is also one of the top 10 receivers in America. So you have 3 top 50 players in America within a 10-mile radius right there. Wow. And then you get back into the city. Lance Lejeune at Warren Easton is one of the top 20 quarterbacks in America. Chester Kimbrough at Warren Easton and Devin Bush at Edna Carr are 2 of the top cornerbacks in the nation. They're in the top 20, top 25. It is insane, the amount of talent. And that's why I've told everybody this week, LSU is going to have a top 5 recruiting class, because you know what? The one thing you can't say about Coach O that he hasn't done is that he holds down Louisiana. It's rare that players get out of Louisiana. The only thing that hurts Louisiana and LSU right now is there's not a top-notch quarterback in this class. Right. Next year with TJ Finley out of Ponchatoula, 2020. Gosh, it's crazy we talked that far ahead. Yes. Right. But unless Joe Burrow kills it for the next 2 years, then they might be all right with that. But there's only one good quarterback, and he's at Warren Easton. He's a verbal commitment to University of Kansas. Some people will be like, why University of Kansas?
Tony Hull, right?
Tony Hull. He coached Lance when Lance was a freshman. They have a tight bond. I'm amazed that Tony Hull's still at Kansas because the amount of kids, to get Puka to Kansas.
There's a pipeline.
Yeah. Puka Williams was one of the best running backs I've ever witnessed in my lifetime. To get him to go to Kansas is impressive. Tony Hull's pulling a lot of talent up to University of Kansas, so we'll see. I don't see Tony Hull staying there too long.
Yeah, and to his point, just quickly to interrupt, it was big because Nick Saban the last couple of years has been pulling some talent from Louisiana and some big names going. So to his point, I think we all agree, and it's crazy how LSU's changed from the perception, right? Well, a lot of us are going, this is a tough schedule. This is tough.
Sure.
Can they do it? I mean, you almost go into schedule in this conference is too hard. So in order to keep players and to do that, I think it's going to help, especially because this might be, I mean, people are going, are they going bowling? I'm like, this guy, 6 wins. And you look at the schedule and you're going, well, we had Phil Steele on the show this week. He said they will be underdogs in 6 games this year. So in half the games, and we're throwing out La Tech, we're throwing, no disrespect, but Southeastern and Rice. Right. So 3 of the other 6 games in which you're not an underdog in, you know, I mean, it's, yeesh.
Yes.
I'm not buying them being an underdog in the opener against the University of Miami. That defense for LSU with Greedy Daniels and Devin White in the middle, I'm sure y'all pay attention a little to gambling there, and they announced today that a month from now, you can go across the border to Mississippi and gamble. So I'm not advocating gambling on the show that much, but I will say LSU is a 3-point underdog against Miami in week 1. I don't buy that one. I think LSU not only covers, I think they're winning straight up in that game. I know Miami is gonna go back down a little there, and I think LSU's defense is just, I don't care what they have on offense. That defense is going to swarm Miami, and they're going to win that game.
Let's get back to Derek Stingley Jr. for a moment. Break him down for us, for those that have not seen him play.
He plays everywhere in the field. He plays offense, defense, he returns, punts, kickoffs. He plays receiver, he plays running back, he plays cornerback. And now Dunham is a smaller school.
Absolutely.
So you have to play those kind of teams. I talked to Nelson Stewart last week, head coach at Newman. Newman was down 2 touchdowns to Dunham in the first round of the state playoffs in 2016. First series is over with. One of his best receivers was going up against Stingley. He said, don't throw at me anymore. It's just a waste of time. So what they did was they pushed Stingley outside and just started going to the right. And Newman won the game. They came back and beat Dunham because they stayed away from Stingley. He's a shutdown corner, but he's at a smaller school that doesn't have a lot of talent around him. So just because he's good and he plays all over the field, don't expect Dunham to win a state title because the makeup for the lack of talent at the other areas. But he's a special one there, and I talked to some sources at LSU. They knew that he was going to be going to LSU there, that it was going to happen. Now they need to pick up these other guys, and everybody I mentioned, most of those guys have offers from LSU and Alabama, of course.
Mm-hmm. Can you add anything to that with anybody that you brought up?
I would just say it's interesting when you hear the name Patrick Peterson being brought up, and you know we cover the Saints and talk about them all the time. DBU is kind of switched a little up north, right? Couldn't you say Ohio State right now kind of is just churning out? You know, Bama's had some pretty good defensive backs, but LSU had a run, guys, of not only good defensive backs, playmaking, game-deciding, changing defensive backs. I mean, you got spoiled, right? Peterson, Matthew. I mean, it was just, some really good players that did that. I mean, Adams, we had, you were looking at first-round draft picks after first-round draft picks in that area. So that's why, again, this is such a key that he goes there to kind of, you looked at his video, they announced. No coincidence, right? When you say and you hear, or when you hear the LSU fight song, the highlights are Peterson, Matthew, Adams making plays in the back. So he's comparing that, and you look at his Twitter profile pic, Patrick Peterson, and a few people have already started comparing him to that. So that's the one thing that, that looks to me, because you think of those guys, they were all over the field. You could be used on defense in so many different areas, safety, corner, slot, come in the blitz, return kicks. I mean, when you mentioned that, again, I'm thinking,
got to put them all over the field.
How big a difference was Peterson and Matthew returning punts?
Sure.
Won games with kick returns. So he's that big a difference. I'm telling you, it's just crazy how one player, all of a sudden, people are high-fiving.
We'll say this, this will take off a little of the bitter sting in February because Patrick Surtain Jr. was a 5-star recruit in between LSU and Bama. I mean, his dad's from here, went to Endicott, won a state championship, went to Southern Miss, Gus's alma mater, and they thought they were getting him. Him and Jarvis Landry, Patrick Surtain Jr. were extremely tight, and the day that he signed with Bama was Jarvis Landry, you could tell by what he said on Twitter, he was pretty hurt at that one. Today was, Stingley signing this or verbally committing this week is a good sign that things are going to change a little.
Garland, the 2019 class, at least verbal, looks like a top class when you're talking about the kid Banks out of Houston, you're talking about the kid Thomas out of Southern Lab. There's a bunch of other players. I'm not going to go into each and every one of them. But we saw this with Surtain last year, as you mentioned, a guy that verbally commits. You want to talk about T.J. Finley in a couple minutes because you had a chance to see him. Again, verbal commitment, 2020. This is 2019. Right. They got a full senior year to go. That all they can, even a lot of these players have said, we're LSU bound, we don't want to be recruited. They're going to be recruited. And again, they're going to have coaches in their ear. Should fans get excited right now about these commits, or should they pump the brakes a bit here?
I think Stingley is locked in. He verbally committed LSU one time before and decommitted, but he would to go through that much. I mean, that was a production crew, that was a professional crew that did that video, from my understanding, talking to some people inside the program. LSU's not done, though, at DB. Since they didn't sign any last year because they missed out on Surtain Jr., they're going to sign 5 of them. They have 3 right now. They got one from Memphis. It's not on the top of my head right now. But you got Banks.
Maurice Hampton.
They're recruiting Devin Bush out of
I have the sheet.
Yeah, there you go. Devin Bush is down to Clemson, Florida, and LSU. I did a profile on him last week. He's another one they possibly could get. So they're not done yet. But they're still after a quarterback right now. Don't think that they've given up on the quarterback position. They've thrown some offers out to some Texas kids, some kid in Tennessee right now possibly. So they're not done yet. But they're going to finish in the top 5. I really think so because of the amount of talent in the state. If Saban swoops in, and if you put me on the spot right now, I think Devontae Lee out of Amite, I think he goes to Alabama. He's close to Devontae Smith, who's already there, caught the winning catch against Georgia. Right. So Saban's going to come in and grab 1 or 2. It's just the way it's going to be. But I think he's going to grab Sopsher, is going to go to LSU, and a few others.
T.J. Finley, talk about him. I know we had Sean on last week.
Sean was really worried about how did he? I didn't see it last week. Sean's getting worried that he's getting too tall.
He was. That's what he was saying. He was worried about getting too tall.
Sean says that every day in the office that he's worried because he's like 6'6" right now. Yeah. He's worried that he's going to get like 6'8" and 6'9" and get too big to play quarterback there. But doing interviews, he's as professional as they come. I mean, you remember? Now I don't remember very well, but if we got in front of a camera when we were 15 or 16, I don't think the things I would have said would even come close to T.J. Finley. These kids are so groomed right now. The coaches are so smart with these kids. And I will tell you this, all the interviews I've done with these kids in the last 2 weeks, I've done, I think, 8 or 9 profiles. The head coach is right next to the kid. He's watching the whole thing. So it takes notes. I interviewed Travis Mumphrey from John Ehret yesterday. His coach, Marcus Scott, was standing right next to him. And actually, after the interview was over with, he brought him over and goes, hey, next time let's talk a little more about this. So these kids are coached. Yeah. You're not getting a one-on-one and the coach is like way over there. They watch what's going on with their program there. So these kids are well schooled. And they're on these 7-on-7 camps all over America, doing interviews for Rivals, 24/7 Sports, so they know what's going on.
Talk about 7-on-7, because that really is kind of a new phenomenon.
It's unbelievable, huge, really. And again, it goes back to the Stingley video recruit. You see them; they're wearing those plastic helmets to protect themselves.
I think it's with the bootleggers or something.
It's crazy when you think of how big that's gotten, Garland.
Like AAU in basketball, right?
Well, I mean,
same thing now.
Whether it's your YouTube, your Facebook, or your Twitter, there it is. There's your highlight reels. You can pin the tweet at the very top, and you can almost help promote yourself to kind of get out there and do it. But to Garland's point, no longer are these kids, this is the first time. There's a camera. Where's the red light? I mean, they're not. Right. So, and I understand that. And again, when you're being recruited by some of the schools that he's mentioning, you're being recruited by a national champion like that, man, you're ready. And look, and to his point with the coaches being there, this is them too, and it helps their high school program. And the more universities keep showing up to their high schools, the better. Everyone wins on that situation from that standpoint. So, and quite honestly, it's a huge decision for them. It's a big decision for those kids. It matters. It means a lot. It's crazy. We're talking about what some of these kids may be able to do and all that, and we're throwing out names and everything, and yet, I don't know, maybe it's the dad in me, the recent dad in me, but I'm sitting there, I'm like, how does Narcisse and Brennan and guys that we were talking about the same 2 years ago about these kids.
But they got to be ready for that, right?
No, I hear you, but that's my point. That's why this decision matters. That's why I'm glad Coach is there with them, their head coach, because you need as much input before you make a choice, because after all, it is a business, right? Those coaches are there to win. The TAFs of the world or the fan groups that buy the suites and the advertising, they don't have tolerance for losing. I mean, You see schools that have no business getting upset. They're like 2-3 win teams a season, firing coaches and wanting more and expecting more. I mean, you saw the release from Texas A&M last year, or Mississippi. They're like, we deserve them. Like, wow. He's like, when did y'all become national championship contenders? So it's crazy you say that the high school coaches are part of it, because you need as much input and help, because it's overwhelming. It's overwhelming to cover. I can't imagine what it is for, letters, tweets, emails, nudges from people or what have you, man, pulling you in one direction or another.
Well, let's talk about the future with these recruits. And Gus, I'll take you first. Does that let you have to have a successful season to hold on to these verbal commitments? I mean, if the thing goes in the tank, are they going to stay strong, or are they going to have these other coaches in the air? And there's another part of this. You're talking about Saban coming in here, but how many Saban disciples are now head coaches that have inroads into Louisiana, that have inroads to these coaches? And again, so how do you, again, if you're Ed Orgeron, how do you put that fence around Louisiana? And then is it also about, again, having a successful program without having other coaches coming in and saying, hey, this guy's on the hot seat. He may not even be there in a year. I
think the Burroughs decision, doesn't it, guys, kind of tell you where there is no time for there is no building, rebuilding, there's no adding, it's I need help now, and you go and do it. I mean, because there's no other way to look at it other than, I don't know, maybe some panic or something like to where you go through all spring and you go, this guy's available, great, let's get him. We have no idea how good he can be. He hadn't played on a field. There's no experience, there's no games you can kind of go to, anything of that nature, yet you're banking now that he's better than the guys that have been in your program. That's telling to me. So there is pressure there. There's pressure, like I've been saying too, what happens if you're in the latter half of the season and you're not at 6 wins yet? Because I say this all the time, in today's day and age, and Garland knows this, doing all these high school stories, if you don't think kids are on this all the time, reading what's being said about them, and that's why I say, as a fan base, are you okay and you ready to absolutely kill some of these kids, especially at the quarterback position, when they throw a pick in the first quarter? This guy's garbage. This dude's terrible. Bench him. Do that. If I'm a kid and I'm a recruit, now again, you're saying you better be ready for that. But I'm also sitting there reading that and going, okay, is O going to be there? So when we're killing O, if he starts out 2-2 or worse, and we're killing those players and it's bringing this guy, it's crazy. Fans and the fan base can have an effect on it.
When you look at those guys in the eyes, is that going to make a difference down the line here?
I think so. We're going to go back to Patrick Surtain. In his press conference when he signed with Bama, he said they're winning championships.
Right.
I will say this: if it goes downhill, Olivas could possibly be gone, Orgeron, and the big one is Corey Raymond will be gone. Yeah. He's the cornerback coach for LSU. He's the one getting all of these kids. This is DBU, is Corey Raymond bringing all these kids in. So if Ed Orgeron's no longer there, then all bets are off. And you would talk about other coaches coming in.
Right.
Dan Mullen's already come into Louisiana with Mississippi State. Now I know you've been to Stark Vegas. I don't know if you've ever been. There's nothing there. It's a depressing town. So Dan Mullen was getting, I say, some big time recruits to go to that small town. Now he has a real program now. He's coaching University of Florida. He's coaching in Gainesville, which is a much nicer place to be. So now he has, and if you look at a lot of these kids in Louisiana, Florida is on their list. John Emery Jr. from Destrehan, it's on his list. Chester Kimbrough from Warren Easton, cornerback. Florida is on their list. Florida was in Stingley's Final Three with Texas. Florida is on all their lists because Mullen already has those contacts in Louisiana, and now he has a real program behind him. Yeah. Ole Miss's coach, I think Ole Miss is staying for a while there. No big-time recruits in Louisiana are putting Ole Miss on their list right now.
Right.
Yeah, and don't forget, again, Texas A&M.
Yeah.
What's the impact of Jimbo Fisher? Remember, this is a guy that Fisher. LSU wanted first.
Right.
So
it's not just Fisher, though, Gus. I mean, you look around the SEC and you see all these Saban disciples who are now head coaches, who, again, they've recruited Louisiana. They know the high school coaches. They have inroads here. That's also something you have to worry about. So it's not just Saban. It's not just Fisher. There's a plethora of coaches out there that have, again, relationships here in Louisiana.
About Georgia, they have a great quarterback that's a freshman and go out and get the #1 quarterback to come
Justin
in this
Fields.
year.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
No, it is. It's amazing.
And they got, Georgia just picked up quarterback for 2019, who is from he's from Mississippi. He's from where Brett Favre's kids go to school.
Yeah.
I think it's Oak Grove, Mississippi. One other thing about these quarterbacks, we'll see down the line there. I think Joe Burrow.
Talk
he's
about
good.
it. That's where I'm going next.
I will say this. And when LSU realized they were not going to get the double-digit wins, I really think that Ed Orgeron did a total disservice to Miles Brennan not starting 100%. In his final 3 games. Mm-hmm. Now, I understand Tennessee was in a monsoon. The weather was nasty, but you need to put him in those kind of situations.
I'm with you.
I don't know what they were playing for at the end there. Just you should have put him in there. Sorry, he still wanted to get double-digit wins. He could no longer play for the SEC championship. Right. I missaid that.
No, but I know what you meant. No.
Yeah, I really think he did a disservice to Miles Brennan on those, and that's why we're here with Joe Burrow right now. I think if Miles Brennan played in those final 3 games, then we might not even be talking about Joe Burrow. We'd be talking about Miles Brennan starting quarterback.
100%. I crushed him. I think it was an amateur move, to be honest with you.
Because get Burrow?
No, to not see
play,
what you have in Miles Brennan. Right. I mean, it makes no sense. Because here's the thing. When they did bring him in during the season, it was when the offense was sputtering. They were down 7-0. It's like, hey, freshman, go help us and get the offense going. So then when people go, well, look at him through the interception, like, well, you put him in there to try to make a play. I mean, it's what you did,
right.
You know? I mean, even at Bama, that freshman played great, won the national championship. He threw a pick, and you're asking him to go make plays. And my thing is this, like, you weren't beating Bama. You weren't winning the SEC West. You weren't going to you weren't going to a big-time bowl game. And even after that, I could sacrifice that if for the next 3 years I might have somebody, or even 2 years, right? So why not give them an entire week of first-string reps? Why not give them an entire week of practice? Why not try to see what you have in the kid? And I'm not even talking about on the field. How does he prepare? How does this teammates respond to him? Let me see to when then you're getting there and you get that first recruiting in December, that first, that 2 signing periods now. You have a great idea. You absolutely do, because it's a month. Mm-hmm. And then you have weeks going to the bowl game. He would have had guys about 6 to 7 weeks of practice, preparation, getting ready for a game, and then I could have sat down on the desk and gone, all right, this was game 1, and when he started, had a full week. To the bowl game, whoever they played, who cared if it was the Weed Eater Bowl. And I want to see how he goes. Now, if in the Weed Eater Bowl, they go and hammer a terrible team, I feel good. If he struggled there, well, there wasn't a lot of growth. But I can see that. There is nothing that you can tell me that he's terrible all of a sudden. I know. I have a problem with that, you know? Yeah. I mean, this guy's supposed to be a savior, and you never really honestly gave him a fighting shot.
Especially after you said you were. Okay, and that was another part of this. Again, we're going to play Miles Brennan, and then when you had a chance to play him at the end of the year, you didn't play him.
Threw him into the wolves at Alabama at the end of the game when the game was over with. And he actually looked decent in there, and they just threw him out there.
All right, guys, with only a few minutes left, with that said, Joe Burrow's the guy now?
I wouldn't give it to him yet. This fall is going to be very intriguing. I will say that from what I've heard with LSU people inside the program, they didn't guarantee him a starting job. This is open competition. I will say it's between Miles Brennan and Joe Burrow. I would think Justin McMillan is going to graduate, and he'll probably be gone at the end of this summer. And then I think Lowell Narcisse will be right behind him sooner or later. He might after fall drills, when Narcisse realizes he's number 3, he might bail on the program too.
I was going to say, it's crazy when you didn't know all last season what their offense was, and you still couldn't tell. Right. And there was infighting between the coach and the offensive coordinator there. How do you think it is to play quarterback there?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just nuts, right? Because the guy that was terrible last year as a starter, I mean, Bill Belichick's taking a chance on him.
No, true.
I mean, it's crazy.
But and again, and that's another thing about this Burrow situation. With only 35% of the offense in, it's not like you're in a situation where everybody that's been there is light years ahead of Burrow. They're going to come in and pretty much be on even footing, and then it will be about the ability to be able to again go out, compete, win the job. You're watching Inside New Orleans Sports. Our guest tonight, Garland, Gillen of Fox 8 Sports. Gus Kattengell of ESPN 100.3 FM here in New Orleans. I'm your host, Eric Asher. We'll be right back.
Air Conditioning, Heating, and Refrigeration has been family owned and operated since 1989. Burkhart has energy-efficient solutions and offers brands such as Mitsubishi ductless AC units and Amana, the only manufacturer with a lifetime unit replacement warranty. Burkhart's offers maintenance bundle packages that include servicing your AC, generator, and tankless water heater. For more information on the services Burkhart's provides, visit acpromise.com. Burkhart's Air Conditioning, Heating, and Refrigeration, providing comfort for life.
Located at 3701 Iberville Street in Mid-City is Katie's Restaurant and Bar. Open 7 days a week, Katie's offers daily specials for lunch, dinner, and Sunday brunch. Serving New Orleans cuisine such as fried shrimp platters, grilled redfish, and a fully stocked bar. And don't forget about our expanded event seating and local entertainment. Featured on the Best of Food Network's diners, drive-ins, and dives, Katie's Restaurant and Bar.
Welcome back to Inside New Orleans Sports. I'm your host, Eric Asher. Garland, Gillen of Fox 8 Sports, Gus Kattengell of ESPN 100.3 FM are our guests. Guys, let's shift gears to the NBA. Tonight is the NBA draft. Mitchell Robinson, Melvin Frazier. A lot of talk about Robinson going to the Los Angeles Lakers. There was a promise made. Robinson kind of a weird scenario because he was first committed to Texas A&M, then he rescinds that. Then he's going to Western Kentucky, going to follow the coach there. Then he rescinds that, decides he's going to stay out of school for the year and work on his game. Then when it comes time to go to the NBA Combine and to be able to go ahead and compete against some of the best young stars that are going to be available for this draft, he opts out of that because supposedly there was a rumor that the Los Angeles Lakers had promised they would take him with their later pick. I think it's like 28 or 29, right up in there. On the other hand, you got Melvin Frazier, who you know a lot about, from Tulane, who again comes in with not a lot of fanfare out of Higgins. All of a sudden, Dunleavy puts his hands on him and turns him into a pretty good 3-and-D small forward, a guy that can shoot the ball. He's electric around the rim. He goes to the Combine. He tears it up. All of a sudden, now eyes are on him. The latest rumor is the Golden State Warriors really want him with their first-round pick. We'll take Mitchell Robinson first. You had a chance to interview him. Talk about the kid.
Well, first of all, I think the agent for Mitchell Robinson is playing it the right way because the video that agents and scouts have is him playing against Bonneville and 5A and 4A schools in the New Orleans area and him dunking all over these kids.
Because we have no size here.
Yeah, blocking. I mean, I shot 2 of his games the senior year, and some kids my height were trying to go up at him, and it wasn't happening, okay? So he transferred into Chalmette for his junior and senior year. His senior year team had 9 seniors on it, 5 starting seniors, and he still didn't win state. Inside, you're not getting a shot on him. I will say this. I hope he worked on his jump shot, worked on his free throws, because he was not strong in high school doing those things. It cost him in the state semifinal game. They didn't make it to the state championship. They lost in the state semifinals. He is a great unknown, and I think everybody likes it that way. You know, it's like these European guys. You only see the YouTube videos, like of Giannis. They didn't know what they were getting, so they just rolled the dice on Giannis. They're playing this right. Not going to combine. Mitchell now, I will say this, in these private workouts, I'm sure he's going up against other guys.
Yes.
But he's been working out in Dallas. He has been coming back to Chalmette here and there because he still has family in here, but he's not from here. He came here to play for Chalmette for 2 years, and he almost won a state title.
Before we will go back to Mitchell Robinson in a second, talk to me about Melvin Frazier. You covered him.
Yeah, it's
you
nuts.
called
I
his
mean,
games.
literally, like you're talking about how he goes from no fanfare or something like that. I mean, Cam Reynolds, right? Well, he was the guy that you would go shoot, you know, I'm going to go do the game, and you're probably going to try to get a Cam Reynolds highlight. Yeah. And then about a year and a half ago, you start seeing a game. I filled in for Todd Graffinini and called the men's game, and it was, you know, he was out, and I'm like, dude, this dude's tearing him up. I'm texting him. He goes, Frazier? I'm like, yes. I mean, the guy was shooting threes. He was dunking. He drove the baseline. And it was one play in particular where he starts on the left wing, drives towards the baseline, takes 1-2 steps, and just absolutely dunks, facing and heading towards the Tulane bench. Crowd goes nuts. The bench goes nuts. I'm like, okay, that's an NBA play. I mean, like, I text Todd. I'm like, I thought you said this guy. Who is this guy? Right. I mean, I started nicknaming him the Truth to Todd.
Wait, you gave him my nickname?
I gave him your nickname.
You gave me a nickname and you gave it to him?
Right. And, you know, it was nuts because you started seeing actually some of those things. So then, you know, obviously the rumors or the talk is, hey, scouts are at the game, you know. And Todd's like, dude, they got scouts at the game looking at him. So It's athleticism. You can't teach it. It's just there. And I think it's one of the things that Mike Dunleavy's been promoting and talking about. And look, last year's team started out really well. You started seeing towards the end of the year against really good competition in the American. It doesn't get the fanfare. We talk about this during football season. You know, there's some pretty good teams there.
Yeah.
But in basketball, you had some really good teams in the top 25. So, and they were in some of those games and competed in them. And he was the guy that people went to go see and did that. So I think he's absolutely just starting to learn what his game can be. And I think the more coaching he gets in that, I could definitely see him be a guy that comes off the bench and it can help do that. And it's funny you said Golden State because it's the one thing no one ever talks about that team. When their guys, Curry or Durant and Green, go take a rest, you still can't get up on them because their bench comes in and gets you points.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, going back to Tulane for a second, the hire of Dunleavy, with again, looking how Frazier has developed under Dunleavy in such a short period of time, that's got to help the Tulane program going forward.
Absolutely. It's a big night for them. I mean, if he sneaks into the first round.
That's the first rounder in the history of Tulane, right?
Right. Wasn't there one before that?
Now
Wait a minute. I don't know. No, I think there was one before
Rod
that.
Williams was not a number one pick.
Oh,
okay.
He was
okay.
Yeah,
I'll wait till I get off camera and maybe look
I
at
don't
Google.
think so. I think he's the
This is why you needed the graph here.
first round pick
then
maybe my director William Hill can look that up for us, but I'm telling you.
It's been a while if anybody's been in the draft.
I don't think there has
been.
been. I think maybe the first round pick in the history of Tulane. Talk about Mitchell Robinson. What do you think going forward here?
You know, it's funny. He said if they're doing it and playing it the right way. I always get leery as to why won't you compete? You know, I always think your talent can speak for itself and who you are. I mean, we were just talking in football, the 7-on-7, right? That is nothing but going up against those players and doing that. I bet you their stars get a little added. Their stock rises more people write about you do those things. And look, I don't know. I just think especially in the NBA game, there's so much. We've been going for the last 2 weeks, one and dones, the success rate, the non-success rate. And it's always great when people go, especially to me, oh no, it works, one and dones. They let them go get paid. I'm like, name it. Well, Kobe and LeBron. I'm like, you're naming Hall of Famers. What about the other guys? What about James Lang for the Hornets? Remember him? It took him in the second round. I'm just saying that there's a lot more of those guys. Now, do they get signed, they get drafted and picked? Sure. But they can't hit jumpers. They can't. So I don't know. If he's working out and he took time like that, I don't understand it. Go to college, work on your game, or work on it. I just don't know. I mean, like, because you can dunk on a kid in Bonneville. Right. Can you now go play in the NBA and guard somebody?
Right.
That's
I
my
will say this. If it works for Mitchell Robinson, you may see other kids opting out, again, not being one and done. And again, we've seen it already. Kids going to Europe, okay? You know, maybe the G League will be an opportunity. But again, to work with a personal trainer that's going to help you with basketball through the year instead of going to school and competing, you know, it's an anomaly. It's almost never done. Your thoughts on Melvin Frazier?
By the way, I can Google one hand here,
which is incredible because I was watching at the corner of my eye.
I was making sure I wasn't on camera there. I want to be sly there, but you were correct. No one has ever been drafted out of Tulane in the first round.
Never.
That's why I paused because I can't think of anybody.
Hot Rod Hundley had to be, but he wasn't.
Right.
But he wasn't. So I mean, again, that's interesting. Your thoughts on Melvin Frazier before we move on to the Pels?
I will say this: Ed Conroy wasn't the greatest coach ever. Higgins was not a good high school basketball team. We never covered him. There was no video of Melvin Frazier to be had when he signed with Tulane. To find that kind of diamond in the rough at Higgins High School in the West Bank, I give props to Conroy. But yes, in the last year, Dunleavy has molded him into an NBA talent. I will say this. Willie Fritz is on the way up at Tulane.
Yes.
I think they're going to go to bowl game this year. Mike Dunleavy is on the way up. Baseball program, I don't know. We're not going to get into that today. Yeah.
You got to be honest.
But two of the three right now are on the way up at Tulane there. You should be really happy. I've said it numerous times on Twitter. Tulane is going to be in a bowl game this fall, and I think Mike Dunleavy's going to keep going up. This is going to be a big day for him. He's getting some transfers in, some grad transfers. I think I had major reservations about that hire with Dunleavy, how much his heart was really into it, but I think that's becoming a good hire.
And, you know, to his point, if you're taking a guy that it's not on anybody's radar and literally is having trouble making local highlights, and that's not a bad thing. It's just reality.
Having trouble making a shot, right?
No, I mean, it's reality. He only has like 5 minutes on weekends. I mean, you only can go do that. But if you can find that, or you can mold that when someone else finds it and put them in the NBA,
I'm telling you.
that's a pretty good recruiting tool.
It is. I'm telling you, immediately. All you got to do is say,
Hey, SMU had some guys going there a little bit because he had Larry Brown. I mean, I'd just be honest.
Yeah,
so when
true.
you have a guy that has NBA background experience, and I mean, look, let's not forget, Dunleavy coached in the finals, man. Coached the Lakers. Coached.
Yeah.
I mean, so had a kid go through it. Who better to sit there and tell you, I know what it takes actually as a kid to get in the league. I have one that actually went and did it.
Let's talk about the Pelicans. 51, the second round. Now, when you look at that pick, there's a possibility they may move up. They've got $2.6 million in cash that they can attach to a pick to be able to move up. They could possibly trade next year's number one, but they can't do that until after the Bulls utilize their pick tonight. And then at that point, they will be able to trade their number one for next year. It'll be interesting to see which way the Pelicans go if they draft at all. In the Dell Demps era, with the exception of Anthony Davis, draft night has kind of been ho-hum here.
It's nice. I hate to say it.
It's nice.
I hate to say it. I mean, we don't have to really, there's kind of downtime. We've been focusing so hard on the Saints. It's kind of nice. But you know what? Look who they got for trading that number one
The media
pick.
says thanks, Dell.
Yeah.
No, but look who they got for that number one pick. And you know what? I'm fine with them trading it again. It's time to win right now.
I agree.
Who cares about the
But
future?
there is when you look at that, there's another part to that. If you're going to have, and I think it's like $77 million guaranteed to the top end of the roster right now with Drew Holiday and obviously Anthony Davis et al., and then you want to bring in a Rondo and re-sign a Boogie Cousins, you have to have players that are making minimum salaries, and you do that through the draft. So the only downside of that is again, when you start giving away your draft picks, then you're bringing invested veterans, and you're hoping those veterans are going to play for that minimal amount of money. So, it's either that, and the way it looks right now, they may have to pay the luxury tax this year going forward if they re-sign Boogie Cousins.
Now, if they dump Solo, Hill,
Good luck.
and Aginsa.
Right. No, I do believe that Jensen may be dumped tonight. He will be dumped before the end of the year.
If they dump Solo and Aginsa tonight,
They are
Dell
much
Demps,
better.
you are a dream worker.
I agree.
Yeah, 7 of 8 since the Bensons have bought the Pelicans have been traded. First round picks. Anthony Davis is the only one. It's interesting.
That was a good one too.
Yeah,
We're good.
yeah.
He wasn't bad.
Hey, they're doing so well now. Why mess it up?
Yeah.
Keep
We
trading.
could have drafted that one, right?
Yeah.
It's crazy because I've had a couple of national analysts on talk about it, and I'll just ask them flat out, because especially this year, I get the sense and feeling it's not as deep a draft, and I just don't see that talent. Again, I did the old man on the street thing, just walk at your gym, or hey, name me 3 of the top 5 that are going in the draft. That kid in Arizona and a Bamba or something in Texas.
Bagley.
Right, I mean, or a Porter kid or
Yeah,
something. But
right.
it's not what it was the last several years ago.
Well,
And it's
the
just not,
NBA
again,
has done it to themselves.
but that's where we're getting it. Look, Silver was on ESPN nationally this week, and I played the bites on my show today, and he's in 2 years it's gone,
Right.
one way or another. Now they're going to try to see. It's the G League where you can go get these guys, and that's where they go. I'd like to see it like college baseball. If you think you're good, good. If not, 3 years.
Agreed.
And you can develop, and you can play, and you can do something like that. I flat out asked somebody nationally today, is there a guy that can help immediately now? Because we saw, with Boston, Tatum helped this year, okay? But you could see that in college. There's a
Sure
kid
you
that
could.
can sort of play and did that in a good fit situation. He flat out said, there's 2 or 3 guys that'll get you 5 to 10 more wins this year. But he said there's nobody that will help a playoff team win an extra game or a series in the playoffs. That's telling to me. Now I get it, that's later on in the draft, but I go back all the way to arms folded himself, Byron Scott, while he was here as a head coach. And I remember him saying that after 10 or 12, it is you don't know what you're getting.
Right.
And he said in some drafts, other than the top 5, you don't have an NBA guy. You have to develop in him, hope that he is.
And he didn't
That's
like developing players.
No, and that's so
Right.
telling, though. But that's why you see the philosophy of Dell Demps. Give me young veterans. Give me younger guys I can sort of do, or people that I know I can get
Well,
something
he wants
out of.
guys on the second
and go and play.
contract. He's looking at, in other words, when you look at the Drew Holiday situation, 4 years at the 76ers,
Right.
getting ready to get that second contract. He's already played in the NBA. He's an NBA player now. Demps makes the trade, brings him in. Ends up being a great trade for the Pelicans because of how he played last year. A lot of us were incensed at the contract that he got. Ended up working out well for both parties. The question is, again, can you continue along this road of not drafting players at the bottom of your roster if you're going to be a luxury taxpayer? And that's going to be tough, Garland.
Well, going back to Warren, I think they're going to get rid of this one and done in 2021.
They need to.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
need to.
It
hurts college
nice.
basketball and it hurts the NBA.
And going back to your other point, I don't think the Pelicans want to pay that luxury tax there. They want to make as much money as possible.
But I don't know how Garland, if you're going to have the present roster, unless you're going to get rid of Solomon Hill, okay, which is an albatross contract, unless you're going to divest yourself of Alexis Agenza, maybe E'Twaun Moore is also out the door. You may have to look at possibly moving Mirotic if you're going to bring in Boogie Cousins and Rajon Rondo. There's no other way around it. They were right at the luxury tax threshold last season with the roster they had. And if you're going to sign Boogie Cousins to a big deal, which is what he is probably going to demand, they won't have a choice. So it'll be interesting to see what direction this team wants to go. And look, let's face it, with Anthony Davis here, you've only got a season and a half to really prove to him that you can win a championship. Because when you get to 2020, 2021, it's an option year. He can either take the Supermax deal, which is 35% of the cap, or he can move on. And you don't want to walk away with nothing.
I'll say
at that point, you want to trade him. And when you get to that point, you don't want to be in a situation where ultimately they're throwing trash at you for Anthony Davis.
I asked this question on our show, and I'll ask it to you too. How do you build a team right now in the NBA? Are you trying to beat the Golden State Warriors? Okay. Or are you trying to be a good team year in and year out, and let's see what happens in the playoffs?
Well,
and the reason I say that is because Houston's gone and tried to, their GM said, we're doing at all costs, we're trying to out Golden State. And they almost came close if Chris Paul didn't get hurt.
They have to. The Pelicans have to go for it all every year because they need to sell tickets.
Right.
You think the fans in New Orleans are going to buy a rebuild? No.
Well, I'm not saying rebuild, but that's what I'm saying.
No.
Like, what do you do?
And I'll take
because
that,
if you
I'll take
go
a step
luxury
further.
tax or not, because Dell Demps and Gentry said they hinted that they would be willing to go
if
with
they
that.
had a chance to win a championship.
Right. So I guess to the point is 230 is 230. That would be the super max. That's what AD can get.
Yeah.
It's hard for somebody to walk away from 230.
Well, I get it.
Now, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green at some point going to want to get paid, right? Now
Next
we're talking
summer.
2
Klay
years.
Thompson next
right.
summer.
Now we're talking 2 years for AD to be available supermax. A player wants to know, are you trying? Sometimes deals work, sometimes they don't. I think you can't say that Dell Demps hasn't sat on his butt. What I thought was interesting in this end of the season presser, Garland, was when Dell Demps said that Mirotic deal was being talked about before the Cousins injury. That stood out to me. So they weren't sitting on their butts thinking, hey, this is enough that they can kind of get going. So that kind of stood up to me from that aspect of it. Now, Dwight Howard gets traded. Now, hold on. The only reason I say it is
Don't talk about Dwight. I know he's getting bought out with the Nets. I do not want to see Dwight Howard in New Orleans. I'll take Emeka Okafor first.
I hear you. There was a report that there was interest. So, again, it's draft night.
Right.
There's rumors everywhere.
Sure.
But my aspect of it goes down to Boogie, because a lot of people feel if you don't get Boogie, you can spend. You're still only going to have $2 to $5 million.
That's right.
That's if you don't sign them. So it's really the amount of years. What I do like is every indication from his Twitter videos of zero doubt and all of this to everyone that follows the league from Wojnarowski and all that. It really does seem like Dell Demps is doing what I think every Pels fan thinks is fair. It's a 3-year, maybe 2,
Agreed.
with a 3-player option, or 3. I think if it's going to get into a bidding war with the Mavericks, it'll be we'll guarantee 3-player or team option 4. I do not think they're going 5 years. I do not think they're going max with them, and I think that's the right thing to do, and it makes sense. And I think at the end of the day, a lot of people are worried, is AD going to be worried? My boy, Anthony Davis wants to win, and Anthony Davis is not dumb, and Anthony Davis knows, dude, you're coming back from the Achilles. If we tie in all that money, like you're saying, now we're in the luxury tax just to keep you, then we better be darn sure we're close to that. And I think AD is a lot more smarter than people think he is, and he wants to win. And he saw that team that won 10 straight. He saw all of that. It'll be a very, very interesting next couple of weeks. Because it's right around the corner, dude. Sunday, June 1st.
I know.
It's 11:59, actually, Saturday night. Go ahead and get a cold one because at 11 o'clock, because it's midnight Eastern, just Have your Twitter ready because here it comes. Who's going where?
You asked the question, how do you build a team?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, if you have a once-in-a-generation player, you got to make sure that once-in-a-generation player is satisfied.
Right.
Because if not, you're going to lose that once-in-a-generation.
But I think they've done that. I think they've tried to ask him and be a
trying,
part
but
of
you
that.
also have to be successful. That player has to feel there's an opportunity to win a championship. Yeah. And as I've said on this program, the radio show, it's Chris Paul all over again. Chris Paul realized he was not going to win here. He forced his way out. He took that second contract. He took that big money. But after a while, it was time to move on. So, again, I think that's what we're facing when you look at Anthony Davis right now. And that's why the window is we've been talking about this since he signed the last contract. It's getting to crunch time now. It's a season and a half. Now again, you're right. 35% of the cap, it's hard to walk away from that kind of money, $40 million a year.
The Chris Paul thing, I think it still sticks with a lot of people. There's nervousness. I get it. But here's the thing. The biggest difference to me is stability.
Oh, no. You
don't have anywhere near the
got an owner
ownership
with money, and you got
that.
an owner that was poor before.
They got rid of Tyson Chandler.
Right.
They got rid of.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
well, that was the beginning of the end.
Right. So it's a little different from that aspect of it. And plus, I always think of this as crazy, right? Because there's a sign by Lakeside Mall. There's LeBron Ton Roulette.
Yeah.
Everyone wants.
Right.
The guy with the biggest clout in the league, he had trouble building a team to go beat Golden State. So that's why I asked you, how do you build your team? I'm going to try to build my team in the long run to be competitive year in, year out, a second-round team competing every year, and maybe, hey, we hit a window where we're Western Conference Finals 1 or 2 straight years, and we can get to the finals. I think that is the one that makes the most sense to me.
All right, let's go to the phone lines. Let's go to Jack in River Ridge first. Jack, hey, Jack, welcome to the show.
Good evening, guys. Great show.
Jack.
Look, it's just my opinion. I believe because of the health of Mr. Benson, I think the management they try to force things once they got Anthony Davis. But the thing is now, they should have been trying to develop young players, but at this point it's too late for that. I mean, if you decide that that's the way you got to go, they really have to trade Anthony Davis right now because they can't, even if they could, they can't get young players and then try to develop them. He won't be around by the time they're ready. And I want y'all comments. I'll just hang up and listen, guys. Thank you.
Garland, take it first.
Yeah, Frank Jackson is not the young talent they're going to develop. I mean, you might see him in the summer league.
Well,
right
you got to see him in the summer league, right?
And we're still waiting on the Czech Diallo era. He's got a little energy, but no, I think you got to. I know you've had a lot to say on this. I think if they want to show Anthony Davis they want to win right now, they're going to have to resign Boogie because they're really close, and I think it's the right thing to resign Boogie.
Gus?
Yeah, I think they're all in. I mean, as Jack's saying, at this point, you don't have an option.
No.
And you're almost in a situation where you do have to resign him. And again, though, I think they're playing it right. I mean, I just go by his social media and just what he does, zero and all this. And I get it, and it's great. I mean, you know what's coming. You like to talk politics a lot, and, the midterm's coming. So you know what's coming in 2 months, right? Yeah. I mean, it's going to be like the sheriff race here, Justin Parrish, where you're going to see signs and everyone's for you and all that, which is what he's doing on Twitter.
Yeah, sure.
You're seeing that he can work out. He's swimming. He's absolutely, look how healthy I am. I'm coming back, baby.
Yep.
Look at me. I ain't fat. I'm slim and trim. Zero doubt. It's great. He's doing it absolutely right. Yeah. He's trying to drive that price up. But that's what I'm getting at. They want him. They want him back. The team wants him back. AD wants him back. I think, though, they're not going 5 years. So
you can't mortgage the future for them.
They're trying to get 3 guaranteed probably at the very least. And I think the Pels probably started with the low ball of 2 guaranteed, and maybe we'll meet in the middle of 3. I'm with you. I know they want to get him back. AD wants him back. But it's up to him.
Right.
If he won't sign for anything less than 4 or 5 guaranteed,
well, then you can't take trash back in the sign and trade because, again, in the past you could maybe take expiring contracts and say, well, they're coming off the books in 2 years or in a year. You don't have 2 years or a year. You got to prove to the guy, number 23, that we're in the line to win a championship, that we're serious about winning a championship. It is going to be a tough decision one way or the other.
That's why I brought up the Dwight Howard thing.
You saw the reaction.
The negotiating. No.
Greg calls him a cancer. I'm saying that.
No, I hear you. But remember,
all his teammates hated him with the Hornets.
There are a lot of reports that they've been trying for a while. You remember that over the last couple of years. As I said,
well, Davis doesn't want to play center. So.
Right. Well, negotiating through social media, this could be one of those. DeMarcus goes, wait, what are they doing? What? I don't know if that's what it's for. I don't think they want him, but it may not hurt them throw that out there on Twitter.
Michael is in Houma. Michael, welcome to Inside New Orleans Sports. Hey, Michael.
Yes, Eric. I'd like to talk on the way the LSU does with the quarterbacks.
Sure.
It goes for the news media, too. The news media likes to annoy the quarterback before a quarterback gets on the field. I like to see the quarterbacks compete and whoever's the best players in the game. LSU lost 3 quarterbacks in the 2018 recruiting season. They lost a guy from Alabama that went to Texas A&M, a guy from North Louisiana that went to TCU, and a guy from Georgia that went to stayed in Georgia. Now they got Joe Burrow from Ohio State that never played for Ohio State. I would rather have the guy from Georgia on the team playing rather than get somebody else's quarterback. So they got to watch that. Now they're trying to run off 2 of the quarterbacks right now, saying one guy when he graduates he gonna transfer. He looked the best in the spring game, and also they're saying Noel Narcisse may leave after the fall. I heard that on the program tonight. Why you keep trying to run people off? Let those guys compete. Don't even say all that. Let them compete. The best guy gets on the field, and they don't do that at Alabama.
Michael, thanks for the phone call. Guys?
It escapes me the quarterback that's in Shreveport, Bossier City, Terrace Marshall's teammate who's now at LSU. Justin Fields at Georgia was going to Georgia. LSU really didn't have a shot. They went at him right now. But on the field right now, all you have is Miles Brennan. But the whole system's changed. Ensminger's, it's a new system. I mean, we're going to just see. They're going to see behind closed doors. We're going to have no idea. We're going to have to take them at their word. What happens and follow drills. We have no idea. They let us in for 10 minutes of practice, and it's an individual drills when there's no man-on-man and just throwing it air. It's going to be intriguing. It's either Burrow or Miles Brennan. I said it before. I really think McMillan will wind up at a Division I AA school come August. Noel Narcisse, they might keep him around because he can run. But because Burrow and Miles Brennan cannot, run, so maybe Lowell gets.
They have
some
a
time.
package for him.
Yeah, they'll have a package for him, so he might stay. McMillan's gone.
Get your popcorn like T.O. said. I don't know. I honestly, you're not gonna have a clue.
Got about 30 seconds for each one. Jameis Winston suspended for the first 3 games of the season, including the opener against the Saints. Reaction?
Ryan Fitzpatrick or Ryan Griffin's gonna be the starting quarterback. If you're a Saints fan, you love this because you know what? Even though the Saints swept the Bucs last year, Jameis Winston's going to have a few games where you're like, I can't believe that just happened. That was unreal. It's looking good the first few weeks for the Saints going against the Bucs and then going against the Browns. Browns have Tyrod Taylor. Sign me up 2-0 right there at the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be big. We've touched on this. The Saints have to start out. I mean, you'd like to see 4-1 before that bye at the very least. I don't know if it means anything, but the NFL Network's top 100 players, the Buccaneers have 0.
Really? I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
0.
Wow, now, again, the top 10 hasn't been released. There's Evans in there.
Sure.
But right now, 90 players have been announced. They have 0. The
Hard
Falcons,
to believe
2.
with the talent they got on that team.
Falcons just 2. Now, Julio Jones may be in the top 10.
Yeah, of course.
Saints, by the way, 5, and we haven't seen Drew Brees.
And he should be in the top 10.
So it could be 6.
Right,
Well,
no
should
doubt.
be 6, yeah.
Of course, Delvin Breaux signs with the Hamilton Tiger Cats, the CFL. Again, they're saying they think he's healthy enough to play.
Yeah, I had him on the show, and he's ready to go. He says he's healthy. He's got to get in football shape.
Right.
I wish him the best. The way things ended here was just very, very,
very bad.
Yeah, and they have Jeremiah Mazzoli as their starting quarterback for the Tiger Cats. His backup is Johnny Manziel.
Yeah.
I might be watching a few more CFL games.
June Jones is the head coach.
Yeah.
I know a lot about the Tiger Cats.
There you go. Guys, thanks so much for being with us. Garland, Gillen of Fox 8 Sports, Gus Kattengell of ESPN 100.3. What time? Every day?
12 to 3.
12 to 3.
I was ready to talk some World Cup. No World Cup?
No World Cup here. It's Inside New Orleans Sports. But you can do that very well on your show, as always. Hey, thanks so much for tuning in. Remember, there's a rebroadcast of this program each and every Friday night right here on WLAE at 10 p.m. You can catch us statewide on Pelican Sports Television. It's 9 p.m. every Friday night. If you missed any of the previous episodes of Inside New Orleans Sports, you can catch those at ericasher.com. Catch me on the radio, noon to 2 on Sports 1280, 101.1 FM HD2, the iHeartRadio app. Of course, you can listen live, download the podcast at ericasher.com. And as always, want to thank our guests. Did a great job tonight. Garland, Gillen, and also Gus Kattengell. Also, special thanks to the WLE production staff, Ron Yeager, Jim Dotson. Also, Trey Lopez, Naila Jones, and my director, William Hill. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next week for another edition of Inside New Orleans Sports.